Today we're going to disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble a M&P Shield Plus. First, we always want to unload the gun, lock the slide back, verify there is no magazine in the gun and no round in the chamber. Once we have verified the gun is unloaded, we need to rotate the sear deactivation lever. The sear deactivation lever is that yellow lever that you see down inside the ejection port. You just need to get a small screwdriver, put it in there and rotate that lever forward. Now we can take the slide off. Once that is done, you can rotate the takedown lever 90 degrees forward like that. Take the slide, push it back until the slide stop disengages, and then you can let the slide come right off the front of the frame. Turn the slide over, press on the recoil spring and guide rod assembly a little bit to pull it up and out. Push your barrel up, grab a hold of it, take it out just like that. That's as far apart as we need to go to clean the Shield Plus. You don't really need much to clean your Shield Plus. You're going to need some kind of a cleaner. I'm going to use Hobby's number 9 gun bore cleaner. I like to put it in a dispenser. This is a Menda pump dispenser. It pumps up a little at a time so you don't contaminate the whole container of solvent there. You're going to need some kind of a gun oil. I like original gun oil. It has a very low odor. It's non-toxic. Going to need some cotton swabs. I like these dual tips. They have a pointy end and a regular end so you can get in all the tight spaces inside the gun. And to clean the inside of the bore, you're going to need some kind of a bore brush and a rod and some patches that we're going to push through there. If you don't have a rod and brushes and patches, you can always pick up a universal handgun cleaning kit like this one. This is from Breakthrough Clean Technologies. It's got everything in there that you're going to need. It's got different size brushes and it's got a rod that you put together. I'll show you that. I'll be using that later in the video. And it even has some oil in here for you to use. Another optional item that I use is called a Boresnake. If you have a Boresnake, I'll show you how that saves you a lot of time. You don't have to put a bunch of patches through your gun barrel to use the Boresnake. Of course, you need a bunch of cotton rags. I just cut up a t-shirt into little squares like this and use them throughout the process. Alright, now that the gun is field stripped, we're going to clean each piece and then we're going to lubricate and put it back together. So let's start with the barrel. So the barrel is going to be the dirtiest part of the gun, so it's the most important to clean, especially the inside of the barrel, which is called the bore. So you can see inside the barrel, those grooves is what makes the bullet spin. You can see kind of the crud and dirt that is built up in there, so we're going to clean that all up. Also, this ramp here is where the rounds slide up into the chamber here, so we want to make sure that's nice and clean. So I'm going to need a brush. I'll pick out the 9mm, and I'm going to need a loop to hold the patches. This actually comes with patches. Not a lot of patches there, but there's a few to get you started. We're going to put the loop on there. Since I'm going to use some solvent, I'm going to put some rubber gloves on. First, we want to soak the inside of the barrel with solvent. So we just get a patch, feed it through the loop like that, and then I just pump up some solvent on here, get the patch pretty damp, and then I just push the patch through. And because it's a loop, I can push it both ways. Right now I'm just trying to get the inside of the barrel wet with solvent. So you can see some of the dirt that comes out of there. Typically I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes to kind of work to loosen the dirt. Then I'm going to take the loop off, put the appropriate sized brush on there, and then after this has sat for a little bit, I'm going to push the brush through, back and forth a few times, and this will loosen all the dirt. Take the brush off, put this back on, get some more patches wet. Alright, and now we're going to push it through again, and now even more dirt's going to come off because we just loosened it with the brush. How much dirt is in there. Continue to push a few patches through here with solvent on them. You basically just want to do this a couple of times until the patch comes out relatively clean. Once it comes out clean, push some dry patches through there to get all the solvent out as well as the remainder of the dirt. Then I'm going to take a rag and wipe it all off, get all the solvent off of there. We want to make sure the outside got pretty clean too. And always make sure you get your feed ramp nice and shiny. If you look through there now, that is pretty shiny. Now that's a clean barrel. If you want to save a lot of time, You can always use a Boresnake. Saves a lot of time cleaning the bore or the inside of the barrel. A Boresnake is basically like a long quilted cotton snake. It's got your brushes built into it already. So what you would do for your barrel, you would just take it. You still want to get some solvent in there. Just get a cotton swab and just slop a little solvent in there to get things started. And then after a few minutes, just take your Boresnake, drop that through. Just run your Boresnake through 2 or 3 times. The brushes are going to do the job of loosening up all the carbon and other crud deposited in there. Then the rest of this Boresnake is going to act like a whole bunch of patches that you're putting through there. So a couple of passes through there and your barrel's going to be pretty clean. So that's a way you can save a lot of time cleaning your barrel. I'll put links in the description down below for all of these items. We are now done with the barrel. Alright, next we're going to clean the slide. Now the user manual just says to take a cloth and kind of wipe this down, and if it's not too dirty you can do that, but I'm going to do a little bit better than that. I'm going to get this clean with a little bit of solvent as well. So what I typically do here, I'll get my gun brush, I'll dip it in a little bit of solvent, and I'll just kind of brush the inside here just lightly. You want to especially get into the slide cuts. Those are the grooves on the inside of either side where the slide moves along the frame when it's firing. So you want to especially get in there. These bristles work great for that. And just kind of spread it around all the places inside that might have got dirty, and make sure you get the breech face. This is the breech face. This is where the firing pin comes out and where the extractor that pulls the brass out is. So you want to get this nice and clean. So just kind of brush that area with some solvent. Alright. Once you get a little solvent in there, not a lot, just a little bit, just get it wet with solvent. Clean off your brush if you want. After a minute or two, get yourself some of your cotton rags and wipe everything as best you can just with the rag in your hands. Just get everything as good as you can. Okay, you don't want to put solvent directly on your sights. I'm not sure if it's going to damage them or not. Just keep it to the metal part. To get in all the nooks and crannies in here and in this groove real good, just get a cloth, kind of lay it in there, and then get your gun brush and use the bristles in the gun brush to push the cloth into the grooves. So you can kind of just work it back and forth like this. And the bristles of the brush are going to push the cloth into those grooves and get down in all those places that you couldn't get to. That also works well for the breech face, to get that nice and clean. And then just follow up with your cotton swabs. You got your pointy end here. That'll get right down in all the corners to get all the rest of that solvent out of there. You don't have to get every little bit of solvent out of there, just do the best you can. Okay, make sure that breech face is clean. Alright, it is looking pretty good. Alright, when you're done with the inside, just wipe the outside. You probably got a couple little drops of solvent on the outside. Go off the patches and get it nice and spiffy. Let's move on to the frame. We're going to basically do the same thing. I'm going to use a very, very tiny, just a little drop of gun oil there. Now I want to make sure I clean these rails here. This is where the slide moves back and forth. There's one there, one over here, one up front here, and one here. That's the most important thing to really get clean. And then you can kind of just look inside, and again, just run this around in any of the metal places that you see. Just kind of get any carbon out of there. Alright, and once you get that, then get your rag and just wipe everything off. Same way we did with the slide. Get everything you can with your fingers. Then you can use your brush to push it down into the tight spots. And then get your cotton swabs and just get in there and get the last bits that you couldn't get. Alright, got the frame cleaned up pretty good here. And if the grips are dirty, you can just wipe them down with a cloth. Get a little gun oil or even soap and water would work well for this. I wouldn't get too much solvent on the plastic parts. And the last piece is going to be your recoil spring and guide rod. This really doesn't need much. I would just get a brush and brush that off. Probably doesn't really have much dirt, if any, on it. Give it a good wipe down with a cloth, and we should be good to go on that. Alright, as far as cleaning the magazine goes, these magazines can be disassembled, but I'm going to do that in a different video. And when I do that, I'll link that up in the corner here. But for our purposes today, we're just going to make sure it's clean. So just make sure you wipe it down. If it's real dirty, or if you dropped it at the range, you might want to get a little drop of oil on a rag and just wipe it down that way. You don't want to leave too much oil residue on here. Just wipe it down to get it clean. Examine the lips here, make sure nothing is bent or broken. Okay, to lubricate the M&P Shield Plus, we're going to follow the manual here. It says to use a high quality gun oil, and there's 7 places that we want to lubricate this gun. I like to use original gun oil. This is non-toxic. It's also non-scented. So I do this in the house. I don't want to stink up the house. I don't want to worry about it being dangerous to get on my fingers or anything like that. So you can use something like this. I also like this Pro Shot Zero Friction. If you like a real pinpoint applicator, this is perfect for that kind of thing. So this is another great option, and there's a whole lot of other ones out there. I'll put links in the description. But we're going to start with the original gun oil here. So it's real simple to lubricate. We're just going to hit, there are 5 places on the frame that it indicates to lubricate, and those are, you got the 4 rails. You got a rail here, a rail here, rail, and then we're going to lubricate right in here at the end of the trigger bar. So you just want a very small amount of lube. I'm only going to put like just a touch. Just a touch there, and just a touch right in this area here. Alright, and just want to dab any excess off. Just leave a little on there. Just got these areas a little wet with some lube. This is the other area here, right here at the end of the trigger bar right here. And the last 2 places are actually on the barrel. We want to put a drop here. The top of the barrel rubs along the top of the slide in there, and right here. And what I would usually do, put 1 drop in each place, just kind of spread it around a little bit. The barrel goes through the front of the slide, so we want a little lube there. Just kind of get a film of lubricant around the barrel. Not much at all. If it feels like a lot, just can dab it off. You don't need much at all. And that is all the manual says for lubrication of the Shield Plus. Alright, now we are ready to reassemble the Shield Plus. It's just the opposite of how we took it apart. Take your slide upside down, drop the barrel in, look like that. Take your recoil spring and guide rod. It goes in this way. It goes into the front, and then squeeze it so it sits down in that notch. You want that centered as much as possible. If it's not centered, you're not going to get the slide on. So that'll sit down like that, and then simply take the slide and line it up. Line up the slide like this, and simply push the slide onto the frame, go all the way back and lock it in place with the slide stop. Rotate your takedown lever back up like that, and then move the slide back and release it. Now that sear activation lever inside that you lowered at the beginning, all you need to do is insert a magazine and it'll put that back where it was, so you don't have to go back in there to do that. After you have reassembled your Shield Plus, you just want to rack the slide a few times. Make sure it feels right. The next thing you're going to want to do is a quick function and safety check. I'll put that video right up here in the corner so you can go do that next, just to make sure everything's working good. Alright, if you like this video, please check out the links below in the description, hit the like button below, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.